Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jen. Today we are going to do a garden tour. It's mid-June, so this will be a mid-June garden tour, which I think is going to be pretty interesting. I don't remember when I did the last one. Everything is, for the most part, everything is out in the garden where it should be. But I've had a lot of problems with cucumbers. My peppers had really crappy germination, but I do have some peppers out. I am replanting my cucumbers in pots, and then I'm going to transplant them out when they're bigger. I know that's not ideal for cucumbers, but I've been having so many problems with slugs. But without further ado, let's go check out the garden. Okay, we're going to start here at the house first. This is my herb garden, perennial garden. I have a soaker hose underneath it, and it's almost halfway weeded. I've got some volunteer dill that are sprouting up. These guys are dill. I have a rosemary that I bought, and this and that are two different kinds of parsley. I've got some Tulsi basil right there, and that is lemon balm. I've been having a serious issue with slugs again this year, so I've made some beer traps, and recently I've learned that you can put yeast, water, and sugar and flour in a container and ferment it, and that will work better. So that's what I have in there. The beer was kind of in there a little bit, but it had dried up a little bit. So I'm going to see if that works. I've got a comfrey, which is tiny. This little tiny thing right here is sage, and then I have some more Tulsi basil, and I have a fennel right there. So that's what I have in this garden. I have a couple more things to come out to go into here that were just too small to plant out. They're still on my deck. Now we're going to start all the way at the end of my garden with my raised beds. These lovely free metal raised beds. I've got, I believe it's a yellow zucchini on this one. And then I've got a row of tomatoes. This side of the trellis is cherry tomatoes. I have sun gold, and then I have chocolate cherry, dark chocolate, something along those lines. There's a chocolate, it's a chocolate cherry, I believe, of some sort. I also have some pathetic marigolds in between. The slugs have seriously decimated the marigolds. Apparently that's one of their favorite things to eat. Now along the other side of this trellis, I have 3 more tomato plants. These are alpacas. They are a paste tomato and an indeterminate paste tomato. So these are going to be absolutely fantastic to grow up this fence. I have winter squash on this side. I don't remember. I've got 2 plants coming up. I have planted more seeds, but they have gotten decimated by the slugs. I don't remember which 2 these are. I believe I have 4 varieties of winter squash, so I think I'm going to need to go start some more seeds. Probably have to do those inside because the slugs are absolutely crazy. These are going to grow up and over this arched trellis that I'm under right now. This is a pumpkin on the other side, and this guy here is, I believe it's either a Kajari melon or a muskmelon. I planted in here Kajari, I planted cantaloupe or muskmelon or cantaloupe. I also planted watermelons, and I believe these are the pumpkins. So I'm going to need to plant some more watermelons. I have a really, really tiny seed right there that's been chewed on by the slugs. They really love to eat everything in my garden. And these two plants, they don't look overly great. Those are Himica. They're not easy to grow in this area. I believe they're a tropical plant. And then right here, I have a sweet potato. It's an ornamental, but I'm going to see if I can get some actual tubers off of it. It'll be fun to see. It's not grown too much since I bought it, but I'm hoping that it will climb up this trellis and maybe I will get some tubers out of it. This is my awesome wind chime that I got at Goodwill. I love listening to that thing. And I don't know if it's hanging from my arch trellis. I don't know if you can see my arch trellis. But I didn't move any of my trellises this year at all. I've kept them where they were. Now on the other side, I believe this is the green zucchini. It's not looking very happy. And actually it turned to be not very happy after I fertilized with that bagged fertilizer that I had. I don't know if I fertilized too much or what happened. Not really anything else has turned yellow like that, and I wouldn't think that it would turn yellow, but I'm going to let it ride and see what's going on. I gave everything a deep watering this morning. It's going to be very hot the next few days, so I wanted to make sure I gave everything a deep watering in the morning. I have got 5 okras here, and another container of beer for the slugs. And then these guys are eggplant. Now behind me, I have my pepper plants. I decided to grow them in containers because I've had so many problems with them. And it was suggested to grow them in containers because they take so long to fruit here that this will give me a chance to move them somewhere warmer when it starts to get cold, so that hopefully I can get as much of a crop off of them as I possibly can. I'm thinking about the possibility of putting a stake down inside and then just attaching the plant to the stake in a couple spots. These nice large 5-gallon buckets, those are jalapenos. I did buy those from a nursery because my jalapenos really didn't grow at all. I was using seeds from, I think, 2015, and they did not sprout in any way, shape, or form. So I ended up just buying those at a grower, and that's why the plants themselves are so much larger. But we'll move on to the ones that I did actually grow. And I did put them in buckets. I do have some at various sizes. This one that's a Santa Fe Grand. That is I believe it's a spicy, not very spicy, but a spicy. And I have a Shoshito. This one right here is a Shoshito. I've got, this one here is a pumpkin spice. I really didn't do very good with my other pumpkin spice, so I'm excited to see how that's going to go. And this one is a natapino, which is like a jalapeno but not spicy. I believe somewhere in here I have some habanero, which is the same, kind of the same as like a habanero but not spicy. I've got that one there and that one there. I believe the tags are in there, but they're kind of buried because they don't show up very good. I'm very disappointed because this right here, which is now non-existent, I'm hoping that it will continue to grow. The slugs decimated that. That one was a biquinho, which is little, means little beak, and it's a little tiny a little tiny pepper that has a tiny bit of spice to it. I grew them last year and they're very small plants, but I'm quite disappointed that it got eaten. And this one here is a bell. They don't do very good. And I've got these 4 plants here. These were cayennes. That was the 3rd attempt at getting them going. So I'm glad to see that they are actually growing, and I need to mulch them, but I am afraid of all the slugs. I did come out and hand pick the slugs yesterday morning, yesterday evening, and this morning, and I got a lot less this morning. But I think I'm gonna have to try making sure that I hand pick as many slugs as I can, because it's crazy how terrible they're decimating everything. Now, these are my ground cherries. I've got another container of slug bait. These are doing the best over here. I was not impressed by how I didn't get any tomatillos to sprout, but I did get the ground cherries, so there is that. Those were very good last year. I hope that they take off. I was expecting them to be bigger than they actually are. Now these are a Boston Pickler, and that's my 2nd planting of those. I have a container here that has slug bait in it, and then I have this little guy right here, and I believe that one there. Those are cucamelon. I don't know if it's because I dropped cucamelons in this area last year, or if the seeds that I had actually sprouted. I am out of seeds for those now, so I hope that those are cucamelons. They look like it, and hopefully they will do good, because I need to collect some seeds off of them. And this row over here is entirely eaten. These were cucumbers also, and they were entirely eaten. So I'm trying to grow them again. They are in the house, and I just started some new seeds for those yesterday. Now so this area here is, I am attempting to do something different, something that's called square foot gardening, where you take a square foot and you plant a certain amount of a variety of different plants in it. This one here has very little of anything growing up in that square foot. That is carrots. They are coming up, but they are very, very, very tiny. I don't know if that'll show up, but there are some growing up. So I plant 16 carrots in a square foot. This section here has radishes in it, 16 radishes. Then this other square foot area is 9. Is it 9? It's beets, and I believe it's 9, but I think it's 9. I will have to go and thin out some of these because they are starting to come in. And then this other section I've kind of done differently. I've got 2 spots where I've got lettuce, because you want to do 4 lettuce per square foot. But then I also planted a couple chard in here, and a couple arugula in this area. So we will see what comes up in that section. Now, onto this area. These are, let me go around the other side. These are the remaining of my tomatoes. I've got 3 tomatoes here that are the San Marzanos. These are a little small. I've got 3 Dr. Wychees. This one's not too small. And then I've got 3 Mariglobe, which is a determinate slicing tomato. And I've got this, I probably can't see it. Maybe if I stand over here. I hammered in these T-posts and put this bar across, and I've got strings going down to the ground, and I'm going to climb these up the strings, kind of like the trellis. Those are they're a little small right now, but I think some of them I can start, and I need to cut off the bottom leaves of my determinate tomatoes. I don't want to prune my determinate tomatoes too much because they only produce a certain amount of plants, or excuse me, a certain amount of fruit. So I don't want to prune those too heavily like I would my indeterminates, but I'm going to stake them up because it's going to be easier to grow. And of course I have to do a little weeding in this bed. I want to weed and do some more mulching in here. Now this one, I don't think I need to take the cover off of this one. This one is the first bed that I planted out this year. I did a video with me filling with soil and planting some things in here. And this bed is taking off phenomenally. I have these 3 plants at the very end are Brussels sprouts. I have pulled radishes out here. I think the radishes are all done. I have 2 rows of carrots. I have a whole bunch of onions growing in between all of the brassica type plants. I have, I believe this side here is cauliflower. I didn't get very many broccoli to grow, and then I have a section of red cabbage, and then further down here I have a section of white cabbage. This one might actually be a broccoli or a cauliflower, and then I've got a black mustard right there. I harvested some black mustard seeds last year from a wild plant. Not enough to actually make mustard out of, but those black mustard leaves are very spicy. They taste, it's like eating horseradish, but it's a leaf. It's very spicy and very good, and I'm going to be letting those go to flower because I'm hoping that I can get some more of the seeds so that I can actually make mustard with them, because I think it would make a very nice spicy mustard. Now, the thing about these brassica varieties that are in here, these, I think they're also called cruciferous. The thing about them is slugs love them. I have a small bait container down on the bottom, I don't know if you can see it, with beer for the slugs. It works to some extent, and then I had one over on the other side over there, but I emptied it out the other day. This bed is loaded. So the other day I cut off some of the bottom branches of some of my brassicas. I need to thin out some more. I mean, they're impressive because of how big they are, but I need to thin out some more. I thinned out quite a bit of the lower leaves on my Brussels sprouts, but the slugs love them and they go after them like crazy. Because I've had this insect netting up, I've had no issues whatsoever with the white caterpillar, the squash, or not the squash caterpillar, the caterpillar that gets on butterflies and stuff. I forget the name of it. It's a white butterfly, white or yellow. I have not seen them around at all this year, but I'm sure if I had this uncovered, they would be all over my plants. And I even had some last year that I didn't think got anything on my plants, and they did. I tried to use diatomaceous earth on them last year, and it didn't really work very well because we kept having a lot of rain. And I've heard that diatomaceous earth doesn't really work very well on soft-bodied insects. They're more for hard-bodied. So anyways, this bed is doing fantastic because it doesn't have that cabbage butterfly larva on it, but it's being eaten by the slugs. So I need to go in here and remove some more of the slugs. I think I'm going to do a little mulching in here today and refreshing my baits. And also I will be hand picking some of the slugs because I found that as gross as it is, and I like to wear gloves, it seems to be working very well to control them without having to use chemicals on my garden if I can help it. I've tried the diatomaceous earth, but we do get a lot of rain, and I don't know how. I know slugs don't like to be dried out, and they allegedly don't like to crawl over them. I've also tried coffee grounds and crushed up eggshells, and I really can't say to the efficacy of how well they actually work. So I am resorting to coming out here and hand picking, which is not as bad as it sounds because I'm wearing gloves. On this side, I have some peas growing up, and they are actually finally starting to get pods. I also have them, these aren't as tall on this side, but I have some growing up here too. And I've eaten a couple of the pods off of them. They're not entirely mature yet, but they are so good and they are so sweet. Now in this bed, I have an arugula that I'm letting go to seed, and I've got a spinach that I'm letting go to seed so that I can collect the seeds off of them. I have under here, I have some more of that black mustard, and I'm going to let those go to seed, like I said, because I really would like to try to make mustard. Under here, I've got 3 small celery plants. Hopefully they will produce. I've tried growing celery before and it did okay, but these plants are looking really good under here. Now this is another sad bed. I started or tried to start beans, and I'm not sure if because actually the beans weren't really all that old. They were from 2023, so they shouldn't have been too old. But I've got these guys which are growing, and then I have one down here which is growing. But I essentially grew or planted 3 rows in here, and I don't seem to be growing anything but slugs and mushrooms, which is in that container there. A bunch of mushrooms fell into them and slugs. I gotta refresh that later today. I have no idea if what and if anything is gonna come up in here. I'm out of bean seeds, so it's kind of at the point where I'm gonna just have to take what's on these plants when they come up and then give up. So that is going to be that situation. Okay, now we are at my in-ground garden, my upper garden. And this one's in a dire situation as well. I planted some popcorn and some regular dry beans just out of a package. Had a package in the house. Black beans, black-eyed peas, navy beans and or great northern beans. I mixed them all together. Some of the beans, you see like that, is coming up. But you also see right next to it where the tops have been entirely decimated by the slugs. And there's a popcorn right there. I do have several popcorns coming up, and I also have some grass coming up in here, which I need to come through. Actually, I should come through and remulch, but these plants are so small that I'm so afraid of them getting eaten up by the slugs and the snails. Now, I've got a few sunflowers coming up. I planted sunflowers all along this row and all along that edge of the garden. The ones that I planted around that edge of the garden were old seed, so nothing really came up, and anything that did come up got eaten by the slugs. In this little area here, this is calendula, which is a medicinal and edible flower. These are not cannabis. These are hemp. I am experimenting with growing hemp for CBD. They are feminized seeds, and they are a very potent variety. I am going to experiment with making CBD salves and gummies with those. And yes, it's legal to grow those in New York State. It's actually legal to grow cannabis also, but I generally don't have cannabis. Now, these are potatoes. These were potatoes that I had gotten at the store not that long ago and just threw them on the ground, and they are coming up nicely. Now, this row doesn't look like there's much in it from there. And then I have amaranth, the little red flower, or the red plants are amaranth. I had quinoa growing in here, and then they got eaten by the slugs, so I tried growing them again. I might have some quinoa eventually coming up in here. I hope so, because I tried growing quinoa last year and failed really badly. But the amaranth is growing nice. I want to use that as a grain, and it's also an edible, the leaf's edible as well. This spot here is marshmallow. Hopefully it will grow good in here. I know it likes wettish areas, and this is not really a wet area, but I keep watering it, and the slugs haven't done too much damage on those yet. So that is my garden tour for June 2025. I hope you've enjoyed that. It's going to be kind of a documentation of what I've got going on so that I can look back at it in the future and see how my stuff is doing. I can check back in on it next year and see if I'm ahead or behind from where I was this year. So I hope you've enjoyed it. My name is Jen. This is Views from My Backyard. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time.